Good evening. The American police officer who shot dead an Australian woman is refusing to cooperate with investigators. Mohammed Noor has failed to reveal why he gunned down Justine Damond. Alexis Daish has the latest.
Aching for a daughter who will never return, John Ruszczyk stared out to Freshwater Beach, a place Justine once called home. On a winter's morning, family and friends gathered in silence. It's a long way from where her fiancé is grappling with the same grief.
How can a woman out in the street in her pyjamas seeking assistance from the police be shot like that?
Officer Matthew Harity has been with the Minneapolis Police Department for 1 year. He was driving the car and spoke with investigators today. Officer Mohammed Noor has been with the department for almost 2 years. He was in the passenger seat, fired the fatal shots and refuses to speak with investigators.
I wish that he would because, he has a story to tell that no one else can tell.
Officer Harity says he drove down the alley with all the police car lights turned off, searching for a suspect. Once reaching the end, a loud noise startled him before Justine approached his side window. That's when Officer Noor opened fire, shooting Justine through the open driver's side window. Officer Harity told investigators that just before the shooting, he saw a young man riding a bike nearby. He says the cyclist stopped and watched as he and Officer Noor tried to save Justine with CPR. Authorities now want that person to come forward.
Why did Officer Noor draw and fire his gun? What happened from the time the officers arrived on the scene to when she was pronounced dead? Why don't we have footage from body cameras? Why were they not activated?
Sometimes it's very clear. It's very clear that what occurred was justified.
It would have been very clear if the body cameras were recording, wouldn't it?
Well, we don't know.
Sources say 25-year-old Matthew Harity was stunned when, after speaking with Justine, his off-sider pulled the trigger. The pair did turn their cameras on, but not until after the shooting. Harity's relatives today weren't talking.
How is Matt going? Why were the body cameras off?
In the end, frankly, I have to decide personally whether the officers made a crime.
Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman will make that call after reviewing an independent investigation.
Is a charge of murder possible at this point?
It is.
An ocean away, the question seemed forgotten, as a father quietly remembered the daughter he will never see again. In Minneapolis, Alexis Daish, 9 News.
A transcript has been released of the 2 emergency calls made by Sydney woman Justine Damond moments before she was shot dead by American police. Her family's lawyer has slammed claims the officers feared they would be ambushed. Alexis Daish reports from Minneapolis.
Probably me best.
She doesn't seem to want to be like...
This is Justine Ruszczyk 3 weeks ago. The meditation teacher from Sydney rescuing ducklings in her new neighbourhood of Fulton, Minneapolis.
What I'd like you to do when I come out, is just hop down.
Justine got into a storm drain, bundled them up in her skirt and climbed out.
What would you like
And I'm just going to go with the mum either up here or straight to the lake. Come on, come on, come on.
Locals say it was typical of her caring nature, as were her 911 calls last Saturday night, police today releasing the transcripts. She first rang at 11:27 p.m. She said, "Hi, I can hear someone out the back and I'm not sure if she's having sex or being raped. I think she just yelled out help, but it's difficult. The sound has been going on for a while." "Okay, well, I already got a call started and help on the way," the operator said. "You can't see anything, you're just hearing a female screaming then. Is that what you're saying?" "Yeah," Justine said. "It sounds distressed." 8 minutes later, Justine rang 911 again. The operator telling her, yup, officers are on the way there. We now know they arrived at the back of Justine's home here 10 minutes after her first call. Sources say Justine then started banging loudly on the side of the police car, possibly causing the officers to believe they were being ambushed.
I think that's ludicrous.
Justine's family has hired top attorney Bob Bennett, who has experience with police shootings.
She obviously wasn't armed, was not a threat to anyone.
Her killer, Officer Noor, is still not speaking to investigators, while his colleague Matthew Harity endured 4 hours of questions.
I don't think trigger happy is an appropriate term to apply to Minnesota law enforcement.
The governor of Minnesota is calling for a statewide policy on the use of body cameras, which in this case weren't turned on until after the shooting. Messages and flowers now fill the steps of the community centre where she taught. Tributes with wishes for the same thing, justice for Justine. In Minneapolis, Alexis Daish, 9 News.
Hundreds of people have marched through Minneapolis to honour Justine Damond and to call for justice over her death. The Minneapolis police chief has spoken publicly for the first time since the shooting, saying Justine didn't have to die. More from Alexis Daish.
If Justine don't get it, shut it down!
A city scared of police, now fighting back.
Justine, don't get it! Shut it down!
Locals locked down the streets of Minneapolis in a stand against what they call trigger-happy cops.
Send those killer cops to jail!
This was not a traffic stop. This was not a wanted criminal. This was someone who called them for help, who trusted them, and they murdered her within seconds.
It doesn't matter if it's black lives, white lives, Indian lives. We all have to come together.
Justine Ruszczyk's stepson Zach led the march, but walked less than a block before returning home to his dad Don, Justine's fiancé. Then came the moment Don saw the huge crowd behind his son. Overwhelmed, he broke down, hugging neighbours, friends and a mother who knows his pain. Her son shot and killed by police a year ago. Supporters watched in silence before they walked again.
The whole damn system is guilty as hell!
They say this march is not just for Justine, they say this march is for all of those people who have been shot dead at the hands of police officers here in the United States. Currently, that figure stands at 550 this year alone.
On our squad cars, you will find the words, to protect with courage and serve with compassion. This did not happen.
The police chief finally conceded she'd let an Aussie down.
Justine didn't have to die. It is my belief that the body camera should have been activated.
She was on holidays and has faced widespread criticism for not returning home after one of her own killed a Sydney bride-to-be.
With all due respect, if this had happened in our country, our Chief Commissioner would have come straight home and spoken to the family and figured out what went wrong. Why didn't you come home earlier?
I was in a remote place and it wasn't easy for me to return.
But as a community tries to heal, there's something comforting. The worst of tragedies bringing out the best in people. In Minneapolis, Alexis Daish, 9 News.